Hi, I'm Justin Harris, owner of Troponin Nutrition and First Attachment Supplements. And I also have a master's in physics. And so as a nutritional coach, I really pull from my understanding of thermodynamics specifically. And at its core, we are a thermodynamic system. And what does that mean? All a calorie is a measure of energy. It's the amount of heat energy it takes to raise 1 gram of water 1 degree Celsius. And we do kilocalories, which is 1,000 times that. That's all a calorie is. There's nothing magical about it. It's just how much energy there is. So we eat food and it contains calories, which has some amount of energy. That energy then passes through our body, which we either use, like me moving my arms here, me talking, and if I use all of it, then nothing happens. If I don't use all of it, the remaining energy has to stay in the body. And the way we store energy in the body is in 3 forms. We store as carbohydrates, which would be glycogen, muscle and liver glycogen primarily. And then we store a protein as muscle tissue. There's very limited storage ability for that, and it's a very slow process. And then we store excess energy primarily as fat, body fat. And there's almost an unlimited ability to store that. That's something we're actually very good at, is storing large amounts of body fat as energy reserves. I can give an analogy. If you start with the way your car works, you fill your car up with gas, that's energy. When you run out of gas, there's no more energy. If you don't use all the gas you filled your car up, that excess energy stays in the gas tank. Now, we have 3 gas tanks, and that's what makes it more tricky, because the easiest gas tank to use is the glycogen, not the body fat. So we want to use the body fat, for appearance purposes, for performance purposes, that's what we want to use. But evolutionarily, that's what we don't want to use, because that body fat is always there for 2 reasons. It keeps us warm, and then also its primary reason is it helps us survive a famine. And so your body doesn't want to use that. It's not like it makes a choice, it just doesn't want to use that. And one of the ways that it makes that choice is that the conversion of ATP from fat, you actually convert more ATP from fat than you do from carbohydrates, but it's a harder process. It's not as easy, it's not as quick. So the traditional way of dieting is you just reduce calories, and that will pull energy from the body. If you are in a 500 calorie deficit, you remove 500 calories of stored energy from the body, typically from a combination of glycogen and fat. And early on, mostly glycogen probably. And so what I do, I use a method called carb cycling, and I take advantage of that. Early in a diet, we deplete fat and we deplete glycogen, and that glycogen continues to get depleted, and that's where the effects of a diet start to manifest in how you feel. Low energy, tiredness, low strength, difficulty recovering from workouts, and that's because you don't have that easy energy source in the muscle. The good thing about that is that you're more likely to use stored fat for energy. The bad thing about that is that's a hard process to get started. So what we do is we'll do low carbohydrate days or moderate carbohydrate days throughout the week, and we'll deplete glycogen down. And then once a week, when we get depleted in that glycogen, we'll eat very, very high amounts of carbohydrates. And how this works is it's actually a way to cheat thermodynamics. We're still following the laws of thermodynamics, energy in, energy out, but we're taking advantage of the fact that we have those 3 gas tanks. And so you may ask, how do I use this carb cycling, and how do I manipulate carbohydrates to maximize my training performance, maximize body fat loss, improve body composition? And so aside from just putting those carbohydrates on an amount across a day, like a high carb day, we can also change where we put those carbohydrates and those macronutrients around training. And so when we want to burn stored fat in a calorie deficit when we're on a calorie deficit diet, but we don't want to use fat for training. I mean, we would love that, but you're not going to have good training. It's a terrible energy source for weight training or cardio, basically, or long form cardio. It's okay. But what we do is then we'll center our carbohydrate intake around training. We're going to eat more carbohydrates before training, possibly even during training, and then especially after training. And then after training, we're going to keep the carbohydrates high because we want to replenish that glycogen for the same reason. If we don't replenish that glycogen, the body's going to try to do it anyway, and the way it's going to do it if carbohydrates aren't present in the diet is through that gluconeogenesis and potentially even breaking down muscle tissue to restore glycogen, which is exactly what you don't want. You don't want to work out in the gym and then break down your own muscle to recover from the gym workout. And so by doing that, by manipulating carbohydrates around meal times, around training, and then also from day to day, you can maximally benefit body composition for the total calorie constraint that you have, which is you can only eat if you want to lose fat, you have to eat less calories than you burn. And so by doing all these things, manipulating macronutrients, you maximize the effect on body composition.